This movement is a spiritual movement. I believe it's the way that Jesus is working in people's lives anonymously. So what can we do as a church? Well, one of the things we can do is we can open our doors to 12-step meetings. That's where more recovery occurs than any place in the United States. It's in church basements. And so inviting AA or NA, you probably already have members of AA and NA in your church. You just let it be known that your church is receptive to opening up the doors to be able to have 12-step meetings. For you as clergy, you can actually go into a 12-step meeting if they are open meetings. Open meeting generally is somebody who's speaking, telling their story, but they also have closed meetings that are only for alcoholics or addicts. You are welcome, church members are welcome to sit into those open meetings. People have fear, people have prejudice of the unknown. And so bringing people together, one of the examples we had is we had a recovering addict who was going to wax our floor after we had a group of recovering addicts who actually do this construction. They'd put in the floor. And so he had to wax the floor. And what happened after he was done waxing the floor is that he had to sit there for about 40 minutes till it dried. And so he sat there with the head of our vestry, who was in her 80s, Miriam, and he had tattoos up and down his arm. He had earrings. He even had some face tattoos. He was pretty scary looking. But Miriam got to know him. She got to understand him as a person, and they sat there for 3 or 4 hours, and they prayed together. They said the Serenity Prayer. Later on in my church, about a year later, we decided to take a third of our endowment, that's $130,000, and we were going to buy a recovering house, that this house would be for recovery where we could put alcoholics and addicts in. And we decided that we could have people in the church would vote on it. The vestry had already said, oh yeah, the leaders, the church elders had decided to vote for it. But we wanted to take it to the people, so we had them vote on it. And we had people get up and stand. So we called on our friend Marion, at that time, 87 years old. Marion, what do you think about spending a third of the church's endowment, the third of the church's prudent reserve of money that we've saved to buy a house that we can put recovering addicts? Well, Marion stood up, 87 years old, said one word: marvelous, is what she said. And today she's still friends, and we actually did buy that house. It didn't cost us $130, it only cost us $80, and we have people in those housing today. Isn't this something Jesus said? He said, we should, clothe, the naked. We should feed the hungry. We should visit people who are in jail, and we should, house the homeless. So we're doing that at the church. Well, that's just an example of bringing them together. Sometimes, for example, the recovering addicts, they sponsor our coffee hour. So that's another way that we can help. So we get people together. That's how you overcome prejudice, whether it's about race, or it's about someone's an addict, or, it's about their culture. Getting people together, that we realize we have more in common as family. We're part of the human family. So those are some of the things that we can do. For the clergy, we can be open to hear fifth step. Fifth step is where people talk and share about their life experience and the pain and hurt and suffering, and it's like a cleansing of the soul. Well, clergy are perfectly adapted to do that. The other thing is, we can't go into their meetings and offer to tell them about our spaghetti dinners or that. That's sacred time. Between their prayer at the beginning and the prayer, that is their sacred time. But what we can do is we can have a bulletin board, for example, and we can have things that are going on in church. We could put things related to recovery on that bulletin board. We can even say things like, the priest is available if anybody needs counseling or needs to talk, or if you have a problem getting somebody into treatment. I want to let you know that titles really help when you're dealing with bureaucracies. I rarely use my titles. if I use a title, I'm using it because I'm trying to help somebody get into treatment. And since I have a doctorate, sometimes I'll call and I say, I'm Dr. J. That seems to really help when you deal with the medical systems and stuff like that, or with the jail systems. This is the Reverend Geisler or something like that. So we have influence. We can help these people. We can be a voice for them. So that's some of the things that we can do with the church. By the way, we hire people from our church. Our church hires recovering addicts to do cleaning. We have a young woman who's had a baby with us, and we've had her in our recovery house, and she had her child, and that was like her first paying job for a while. And we have a food bank, and people bring in, coffee for the recovering addicts. There'll be tampons and food and stuff like that. So getting to break down those walls are really important with recovery. Between our church and the Methodist Church here in Pittsburgh, a small Methodist church my friend Gus is at, we have over 70 people in housing, each person in their own room. Why in their own room? For dignity and respect. And so we have found this relationship, and a lot of the people who are in recovery are young, and so when it comes to doing things physical like moving stuff, they're there to volunteer, helping with the grounds. So it really can be a win-win situation working with recovering addicts.